When someone calls or compares another individual to Adolf Hitler, you could almost be assured that it's to poison the well of public opinion. There's likely an ulterior motive that can't be supported by critical thinking or civil discourse, so they have to resort to character assassination, like a reference to the Austrian Führer. In contrast, I can't recall anyone ever comparing Barack Hussein Obama to Pol Pot. I've heard a few parodies to Joseph Stalin here and there, but rarely to the point of excess, usually in satire. I'm going to be emotionally honest and say that while the previous president was a cunt, fuckhead piece of shit, the guy was by no means a genocidal dictator. Speaking as a former leftist, I can sort of understand why his policies had appeal and how his influence resonated with the folks we're now seeing take to the streets. While I don't agree with all these Saul Alinsky tactics, I do admire their passion, just as long as they show it without violence. But what about the people who truly believe in the comparisons they preach? Not just the ones so bent on their ideology that the fight becomes a little too personal. Black and white thinking is often indicative of someone who hasn't emotionally matured as an adult. A teenage girl who calls her parents fascist after getting grounded for bad behavior is a prime example because little was fathomed about the consequence of her actions. Was the punishment too severe, and how so? If the penalty did fit the crime, what her attitude conveys is someone who actually hasn't been punished enough. Lack of accountability leads to excessive egotism, and when everything gets taken for granted, a minor disappointment gets construed as the end of the road, the end of the world, all or nothing. For a child, this is perfectly normal thinking, but if you believe the same as an adult, well, that's childlike. You got some issues. One of the worst parts of the ad Hitlerlum fallacy, apart from its intellectual dishonesty, is the blatant double standards. The regressive left and its constituents have never really been fans of the Jews. Ask your run-of-the-mill Islamist, or Jews for Palestine, or a thug who plays the knockout game, or even some residents of the barrio. A lot of them have their own opinions when it comes to Jewish people, Israel, the Holocaust, who controls the world financial system, maybe even Adolf Hitler as well. And yet their views are completely exempt from any criticism. Why is that? We just have to be concerned about the alt-right white nationalist. He's the only bastion of intolerance and anti-Semitism. It has nothing to do with left versus right politics, I'm sure. Let's play ball with some deductive reasoning, shall we? A contemporary neo-Nazi who admires the entire framework of the Third Reich's leader. Even if he had his own following, any likening to Hitler would be meaningless. American Nazi groups have been outliers for as far back as the Bun Clubs. For anyone who doesn't understand why someone like Hitler rose to power, all you have to do is compare Europe's unrest of the 19th and 20th centuries to the unstable governments around the world today, and you have fertile grounds for a despot. Genocide or no genocide, regimes are often byproducts of civil war. Now, I'll be perfectly upfront. I've been guilty of black and white reasoning myself. This can be said for all of us from time to time. The key is whether there's self-awareness from the individual arriving to said conclusions. For example, as a kid, I was once called Adolf Hitler by my younger sister and our mother during 2 separate occasions, refusing to share, and for asking her to turn down her slumber party music. Our bedrooms were adjacent, and I wanted to get some shut-eye on a late school night. A little pushy and unwieldy on my part? Perhaps, maybe I could buy that. But nowhere close to invading countries or rounding up a bunch of people for concentration camps. To this day, there's been no apologies or regret for that extreme rhetoric. And when I see the same labeling towards our current commander-in-chief, it's deja vu all over again, to say the least. If you found this blurb useful, please like, subscribe, comment, share, contribute to my Patreon to keep these videos going, and take it easy.